Magic.
If I can do it, what's your excuse? What's holding you back or what's stopping you? Go on and do it, or what's there to lose? If I can do it, what's your excuse? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger, Maxwell Ivy, and this is another episode of What's Your Excuse, where I hope to help you overcome the excuses that are holding you back by sharing conversations with you, talks I have with people who have overcome adversity or thrived in spite of difficult life circumstances, people who have struck out on their own and started unusual businesses, people who have real world tested actionable advice, or people who I personally find interesting or inspiring. And you can find the podcast at theblindblogger.net. You can also find What's Your Excuse on all the major podcast players. And you can ask Alexa, Google, or Siri to just play What's Your Excuse? So I hope y'all will check out the podcast. For those of you who don't know, I've recently started advising companies on accessibility, mostly in the digital space. So if y'all want to be more inclusive and take advantage of a large, untapped audience of people with disabilities, an audience I might add is very brand loyal and will advocate for companies that make us feel welcome, then please reach out to me through the contact form. So I want to thank my sponsors. First, blueberry.com. They provide the podcast hosting for What's Your Excuse, also for Shredding for Gold, and also for the What's Your Excuse Network, which you can find at wyexcuse.com. And without their continued financial and technical support, we wouldn't be able to keep doing all this great work and sharing all this inspiring content with you. And then secondly, createmyvoice.com. That's Chip and Pam Edwards. They provide voice branding strategies for people. They help create the invocation, which is how you tell Alexa or Google to find whatever business it is that you're looking for. So if you don't claim your invocation, you give someone else the opportunity to claim your traffic on these wireless devices. So I strongly advise you give Chip a call or reach out to him for his contact form and have a conversation about your voice branding. All right. So today, I don't do this often, but for this particular instance, I think it is definitely warranted. I'm looking forward to a great conversation. Y'all have seen Anthony and Jason on my podcast before. We talked about their wonderful friendship that started in college. We talked about how they've helped each other through Anthony's back injury and Jason's experience and having to live with obsessive compulsive disorder. They are award-winning filmmakers who have won awards all over the world for their documentary films that they've made so far, like Ordinary People and Straight Off the Canvas, which is about how the blind create, appreciate, and teach art. Wonderful film that you can find on their social media accounts. So they've recently started a film company called Videotape Productions. They're in the production part, or actually the filming of their next movie, which is called Playing Hopscotch with My Brain. It'll be all about Jason's experiences with obsessive compulsive disorder, how that has affected his life, the life of Anthony and the people around him, and how he has managed to overcome it and find a way to live with it. And y'all can find these wonderful guys at twitter.com/hopscotchwbrain. We'll also have the link to their YouTube video that we'll be showing you in a little bit here, because besides telling you their story and telling you about their movie, they're here to raise some money, y'all. We want to get them some funds so they can finish this next great film and inspire a lot of people who are living with mental health challenges like OCD and who need more help. So Anthony, Jason, thank you so much, and welcome back to What's Your Excuse?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us back.
It's so great to be back. We're a company now, Studio Take Productions.
We're official now.
Well, you know, that wasn't where I was planning on going first, but talk a little bit about it. How does it feel? Does it make you feel more positive about the future of your work now that you've taken steps to be more professional about the way you approach it?
Definitely. I mean, when we were first going through all the steps to make this business legitimate, filling out all the paperwork and everything, it it was kind of hard to believe we had made it this far. I mean, I knew we would eventually, but it's kind of surreal, you know, seeing something that we had always dreamed about um become a reality. It's indescribable, and then to see it officially on paper, yes, you are a recognized business, um is really it's really something to behold.
Um, basically, with your help, Max, we had an amazing 2021. We have been basically on podcasts all around the world, reaching audiences that we never would have reached without Twitter and social media. So I'm grateful for you in our journey. Um, I basically, I basically had a very difficult winter. This is the worst winter of my life. We could talk more about that a bit later, but I felt before the winter happened that there was nowhere else to go. There was no other option but to make this official, because we made this film, in order to distribute it and to be able to show it to an audience. And the task of let's be frank here, the task of distributing the film is not easy. And when you go through the process, we had an amazing 2021 in terms of distributing the film to our target audience. But we want to be able to see some funds from the film, because it was many years of labor from us. So while surreal, it was a necessary step for us to legitimize the film as a business with a legitimate budget. So it was just a
Right.
formality. We've
Right.
always been we've always been a company. Now it's just formal.
I see. So y'all have been living together for years, and now you're finally married. I got you. I think that where we really need to go here next is uh, a lot of people, and not just COVID, even before COVID, during the financial crises of 2000 and 2008, a lot of people were doing great work. They felt like they were doing everything right, and then for some reason, out of no actions of their own, they find that everything they've been working on was either gone or at least had to be put off to the side for a while because their financial situation, their health situation just wouldn't allow them to continue chasing their dreams. So how about we go back to when uh, you, Jason, first discovered that you had OCD, and I imagine you experienced it for quite a while before you understood what it was and could start doing something about it.
Well, I've always had I've always displayed rituals, what are called rituals, since childhood. I would have certain things I would do. For example, I'd always sleep with a Bible next to me. I would always put my glasses near the Bible, never on top. Like I always have to make sure that they're in a certain position before I go to bed. Little things like that since childhood have always been with me. And it really didn't become out of control. It really wasn't a problem until I hit about 26 years old. And I just finished grad school, and I was heading out, I was venturing out into the world and really trying to flex my, my production muscles and everything I just learned in grad school. And I was really eager to go out there and really, work towards, get a better job, pursue my dreams, everything. And it started just slowly, very slowly. I began repeating certain actions. I began feeling more anxious just out of nowhere. And I couldn't explain it. I didn't know what it was. And a lot of the anxiety came from not knowing what it was. Um, one day it would only happen for like about an hour, and I'd say, "Oh, that's weird. I never experienced anything like that." Then it became 1 hour, became 2 hours, then three. Then it would start lasting for a certain amount of time to the point where, there are times I just didn't want to go to bed because it would interfere with me making up my bed or how I went to sleep. And I began developing insomnia because of it. And when it really got full blown was when it was almost towards the end of the year, around September, is when it really exploded. What had happened was my aunt had just passed away in Canada. And after my dad came back, I just had this really intense fear of death, and anything related to death, even remotely, sent me into an anxiety panic. And I didn't know what it was. And like I said, a lot of the anxiety came from not knowing what I was experiencing. I had seen my doctor, but he wasn't a psychologist. So I went to a campus priest of ours. His name was Father Paul Wood, and he directed me to visit a therapist. And the therapist had said, "Oh, I know what you have. It's obsessive compulsive disorder. But I am not qualified to treat it. I don't do behavioral therapy, which is something you'll most likely need." And so he recommended I go to Mount Sinai. And Mount Sinai was tough because you have to pay out of pocket. They do not take insurance. And I was very frightened. And so I was like, I don't want to pay that. So I decided to try a psychologist near me who I thought did behavioral therapy. But it turns out that was not the case. He basically was just telling me, "Well, oh, you're having trouble getting dressed in the morning? Why don't you just get dressed? Why don't you just get over it? Why don't you just do it?" Which was not which is not correct behavioral therapy. So I decided to say, all right, you know what? It came down to when he had suggested to me and my family, he's like, "Look, I don't know if you really have OCD or not. Maybe you'll have to go to the psych ward in one of the hospitals here for about a week. It's not bad." um, and spend some time. And we left, and my family was in tears, and I was in tears because I used to volunteer at a hospital. I used to deliver medication to the psych ward. I know just one day in there how bad it was from the outside looking in. And then to have to be committed there for a whole week was very frightening, because at that point I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to go into an asylum? Are they going to have to put me in a straitjacket? I mean, is this going to be like Cheech and Chong where I end up like chained to the floor? And I was so scared, and we decided to cut our losses. I had some money saved up. Let's just go to Mount Sinai. And it was tough because the first appointment, he had to see me for I had a psychologist who saw me for 2 hours. It was about $2,000 for that visit alone, out of pocket. Yeah. And he sat down and he drew a timeline of my rituals and everything I was experiencing. And he, at the end of it, after listening to me very intently, he said, "You do have OCD. You have obsessive compulsive disorder. I recommend medication and behavioral therapy." And I asked him, "Do I have to go to the psych ward for anything else?" And he said, "I used to run a psych ward, and you are not psych ward material." So I was so overjoyed to hear that. And so I told him, "All right, I'm okay with the medication, but can I have some time to think about the therapy? Because this is kind of going to change my world. These are rituals that have been with me since childhood." Some of them have just been with me for a very long time. I really need to think this over. And he's like, it's okay. Take some time, and when I see you next week, let me know your answer. And it was around this time I was going shopping with my parents that weekend, and I was just walking down the sidewalk with them. And after I should say, while I was going through this nightmare of obsessive compulsive disorder, I kept praying. I don't know how people feel about prayer. People have a lot of different opinions on it, but I was really crying and praying, like, I need help, Lord. I really do. I can't do this on my own. And that day, I was walking down the sidewalk, and out of nowhere, I had a window of 15 to 20 minutes of complete freedom from anxiety. I felt anxiety, like my feeling of anxiety, just dissipate. I'm talking like almost disappear. Don't know where it came from. Don't know how it happened. Don't know what caused it. I still believe it was a bit of a miracle this day, but I think it was God's way of telling me, you got to go to therapy. Don't be afraid. Do it. You have nothing to lose. Go for it. And I went to my doctor the next week and I said, I am ready. He goes, well, you sound very enthusiastic. I said, well, I had this experience. I don't know what your interpretation is. I don't know if I know it's not scientific. It may be a little more religious. And he goes, well, I'm a big believer in, religious. Sometimes a lot of religious practices can help people through, you know, their trying times, especially with a mental illness. And so he agreed to sign me up for behavioral therapy, and I started a week after. And it took me about a year and a half of not really like physical therapy, but just this emotional and behavioral therapy. I went through every fear, every ritual I had since childhood, since 5 years old. I went through it and I faced them all. And at Mount Sinai, they have they have someone sitting on their board. He invented a scale that measures anxiety. It's called the Weimar box. His name is Dr. Weimar. And it basically measures your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 40. When I first went in there, of course, 40 being severe, being the worst. When I went in there, I was a 39 out of 40. When I left after therapy, I was a 14 out of 40.
So
So,
I'm
yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to cut in because uh, he never told me that. Jason never told me that. So Jason and I, we do stuff like this. We go on shows, we go on podcasts. We want to get ourselves out there in our work. And one day, Jason and I are going to the our local television station to promote the fact that Jason has just won an award, and he tells the hosts what you just said, and I wish I had a video of it. It probably is still on YouTube, but the look on my face was like, wait, what? No, 28. You said 29 out of 39.
39.
39.
39 out of 40,
Man,
homeboy. That's
it's
what they would call purely obsessional.
So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, a little bit about how it not only affected you, Jason, but how it affected Anthony and your family and your coworkers. And has there has there been any lasting effects with people outside your closest friends and family?
Well, in terms of my family, it really impacted them, because my parents, you have to understand, are from Guyana, South America. It's next to Brazil. Um, And in that time, especially during the 50s and 60s, when they grew up there, even the 70s, they weren't familiar with mental illnesses a lot. And in Guyana, if you had a mental illness, they just threw you in the nut house. That was it. You just got thrown in there, and that was it. Godspeed. Especially during that time. And when I was going through my crisis, they were panicking. They were frightened to death because they didn't know what I was going through, and they didn't know how to help me. And it's not their fault. They tried. They really sacrificed a lot. But they suffered through this dark time. I would say as much as I did with it, and maybe even more so. And I think even with my friends, I know with Anthony, at first, I think we were, as Anthony was saying, he tried to get us to, he tried to get me to go to one of the local stations to drop off a copy of this film, and I couldn't leave the damn house. My friend here, stepped up his game, and he came up and he dropped it off for me. And I always thank him for that. He really helped me out during this crisis, and I had other friends too, who understood and talked with me through it, and would just come over and just spend time, even if it was just sitting down with me, and playing video games or something. They would spend time and help me through this. So I would say that the impact it's had on my parents, they kind of are more aware of it now. And when it comes to issues of mental illness, especially if they hear about their friends or family suffering from it, they could say, I know what you're going through. I went through it with my son. It's frightening, and it took a lot of work and effort on our part. But I think they would agree with me when I say knowing its name is half the battle. It really is half the battle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, from my perspective, 2012 was a very challenging year for me.
Oh yeah.
It was a really challenging year because I had a workplace accident that really affected me physically. And then let's just face facts, Max. I hated my job. I could say it out loud. I hated my damn job. I hated the fact that I had to go back into work wearing the same shirt after being injured on the job. It made me physically and mentally sick. And I didn't stop. I never stopped to get therapy, to be this isn't your level of hatred for this job is not healthy.
That sounds like my brother's job. Patrick,
Patrick
works nights.
Hated that job, but I would not give them the satisfaction of having me quit. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of having me quit. And I'm not gonna say the company's name. You know I work.
You know who you are.
You know who you are, and I will never buy your video game console. Anyway, at the time that I was going through what was at the time a really dark period of my life, I really held on to filming, and I was driving my parents miserable because I was in severe pain, and I didn't really drive Jason crazy because Jason was like, "Oh, all right, no, I understand, man. Screw that company." And so I said, "All right, man. Well, let's start the film. Let's start to film. Straight off the canvas." Because my mother said, "Anthony, I think it's time for you to get back into producing." And because I was starting to lose my mind because of the pain. And so Jason says he has OCD, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. Okay, you have OCD. Get up, get out, and meet up with me. I did not understand it. Um, so so then he tells me we're gonna make a film out of this, and I immediately realize that I'm gonna be in this movie, and that this movie needs a comic sidekick, and that's me. Um, so like but in a weird way, Max, I felt it was a way for me to pay back one of my good friends, because I had been okay. Yes, 2012 was a bad year, but I've had a lot of unfortunate situations, in my life since meeting Jason, and Jason was
Not caused by meeting me.
not caused by him. I'm just accident prone. Okay, I'm accident prone. I go hang out with Father Paul, like he said. We had a mentor, Father Paul. I trip and I break my arm. The first person I called was Jason, because I did not want to panic my father and tell him that I just broke my arm. I said, Jason, I can't move my arm, and I need you to talk to me for the next hour and a half, or the next hour, for me to not lose my mind, because I broke my arm. And he did. He stayed on the phone with me until I got to my house, so I can get my insurance card, because who walks out the house with their insurance card in their wallet? I didn't. So the point here is that here's a guy who took the time out of it. He had a day of work. He had a day of school. He took his hour to calm me down before I went to a hospital to get a cast on my arm. So it was only appropriate that, not appropriate. I'm sorry. I always find the wrong words here, but I always wanted to pay Jason back for moments like that. Jason, Max, this is not the first time I try to collaborate with a friend, and this is the only partnerships of a friendship that did not end in total conflict and ended friendship. I gave him an idea, we ran with it, and here we are 12 years later with a production company. I mean, there was never any discussion of how much you're gonna pay me for this for this gig. It was a mutual understanding between us that if we work together, we're gonna create something, and eventually this is gonna grow into something big. So yeah, that's just my perspective. I was just trying my best to help Jason through his crisis, and I didn't realize how much of a crisis it was until much later on, much later on. So I was just a bystander in his story.
Well, you were an important bystander, though. You're going to make it into the film, which puts you ahead of all the other bystanders, and
Right.
even more so ahead of the people who probably ignored him while this was happening. So you didn't find out right away, but once you did find out, can you talk a little bit about how that made you feel about yourself, about Jason, and your friendship? I mean, because I would imagine that you had just as much fear or concern as Jason did.
Max, I'm sorry. I once you transition it to me, I was like, I thought the question was going to Jason. Can you re-ask the question? I'm sorry.
Man. Okay, so we're gonna do take two, y'all.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Like I was like,
I had to say it. I had
I'm
to say
sorry.
it because of the name of y'all's studio,
That's
Video
right.
Take Production.
That's right.
So I had to say take two. But
I'm
the
sorry.
point is,
Can you ask the question?
Yeah, I will. The point is that even though you didn't know until quite a bit later, I'm curious, what kind of fear and concern did you have about yourself or Jason when you did find out? How did this affect you and your mental health?
Um, that's a really, really deep question. Um,
I get paid good money to ask really deep questions,
that
but
was a really deep question.
okay.
I was really concerned for him. Um, you know, I was really upset that he could not attend his graduation because I had helped him considerably get there. And I tried so hard, just go. Just go. Why can't you just go? He's like, nah, man. Nah. And he wasn't, I don't think he was letting me in. Maybe he wasn't letting me in all the way. Um, it may have just been him not articulating it very well to me in the moment. Like, how do you articulate the fact that you're afraid to die and you're doing all these weird things? Maybe he was, you know, felt I'd be judgmental, which, you know, occasionally I can come off as a bit of an asshole. I've been told. So I knew that this was a big hinder in his life. The fact that he worked his ass off and did not get to celebrate uh, the way that he should have. And gosh, how many years later, Jason? 2017. That was
It was
2017. So
when I graduated.
it's 15
When
years.
I graduated, when I graduated, it was 2012.
2012. Okay, so 5 years later. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, it's a recurring thing about our friendship. So 5 years later, Jason does the exact same thing that I did for him. Like, he helped me graduate from graduate school. And here's a story. Um, I was in a relationship at the time, and I graduated in December of 2017. Um, you try your best to work it out, and it was kind of known that she was gonna get. I was only gonna get 4 tickets to the graduation. So I was unfortunately in this relationship, and I tried my best to make it to make it work, and unfortunately, it was not meant to be. I wish her well. I will not say anything negative about her. It just was not meant to be, Max, and it ended, and oh well, I got an extra ticket. Jason, you're coming to my graduation. And
Hell yeah.
and so
And you know what was funny too? It was in Nassau Coliseum, which was not far from Hofstra, where I had graduated
right.
from
Yeah,
with my
yeah.
MFA.
So right.
So the place where I couldn't go to graduation, I'm going to a graduation across the street. So I'm like, oh, as I go to my graduation. Okay, cool. I know the area.
It was Max. It was the most surreal graduation I had ever been to, because I did a lot of independent work at New York Institute of Technology. Thank you to New York Institute of Technology for allowing me to take one class a semester on my own time. And I was able to do it, but it was really surreal because I did not know any of my peers. Like, I knew no one, not a damn person in that graduation did I know, except for Jason, my parents, and my brother. And my mother turns to Jason and says, "This is your graduation too." And
Yep.
yeah,
Really cool. So
so I try.
I hope some of these moments make it into the film or have already made it into the film. So I think now would be a good time for y'all to play the
Okay.
trailer for the film
All right.
and to drop the link if you can either put it in the chat or if it's short enough you can tell people what the link is to the crowdfunding campaign. Then we'll pick it up after y'all show the trailer.
What we're gonna do, this is a trailer, not of the film, but it's a trailer of a crowdfunding campaign. So that
It's
we
our promo film. It's a
so,
promo.
so that we could complete the film, so we can then third time that we come, we can play the trailer.
Yep.
We do not. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have enough footage for a trailer. So, we're trying to raise money so that we can have footage for the trailer so we come back for the third time. All right, so I'm going to share this.
While he's getting that playing, I'm just going to mention that if there is a third time, it will be at the premiere, and we will do this the right way, in person, with actual cameras in somebody's studio.
Hell yes. All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, Jason is going to be doing audio description. Whenever you're ready, I'm going to just hit play, and Jason, you go ahead.
So there's a shot of a park with hopscotch and a box that says OCD, and I'm playing hopscotch. Uh-oh, I'm taking out a bat. Hit 1. Hit 2. Hit 3.
What the hell are you doing? I'm kicking OCD's ass. Oh, okay.
I beat the crap out of the box.
Helping me hit the box. Oh yeah. He kicked the box. Now I kicked the box.
Hi, my name is Jason FIgueira. I'm the director and co-producer of a brand new film called Hopscotch with My Brain.
And I'm Anthony Saldana, co-director and executive producer of Hopscotch with My Brain.
When I first started this film, my mission was to make something where people who had obsessive compulsive disorder could watch it and it could help guide them through their darkest moments with this mental illness.
You know, as a long-time friend of Jason, one day I just wanted to hang out with him. I said, Jason, let's hang out. He said, no, I have OCD. And I didn't get it. I said, what the hell are you talking about? Let's hang out. And it wasn't until I saw the footage of him having a mental breakdown that I truly understand the sad symptoms of having obsessive compulsive disorder.
I want to thank you, man, because your friendship was one of the few things that got me through such a dark time.
Bro, we've been through a lot together. Broken bones.
Chronic inflamed sciatica.
Strained groin.
And that's just Anthony. And remember, he's single, ladies.
We've started this journey together, and we're going to finish it with your help.
We are going to raise $15,000 to cover things such as production travel costs, production equipment expenses, and even paying my damn crew.
Wait, even me?
Yes, even you, Mr. Cameraman. See, you're going to get a paid gig out of this.
We're going to do it. Hopscotch with My Brain is going to be finished with your help.
And by the power of your donations, we are going to kick OCD's ass.
Cut. Wait, are you guys brothers?
No.
Hi, Aaron. Can you pick up 10 $500 gift cards for the office bonuses and email back?
All right.
Yeah, so I have other questions, but I'm confused. Is the cameraman's voice a third person or one of you two?
No.
It's a third person.
That's a cameraman.
Okay. All right. Well, I wasn't sure, man, because, we are at the beginning of this project, not the end. I wasn't sure if maybe for the purposes of the trailer, one of you got behind the camera and said you were the camera guy. Okay. So
It's
first,
totally understandable to expect that from us.
I was just thinking about how I would have had to do it. That's all I'm thinking of. And I also think about some of the great filmmakers of the 30s and 40s who used to build sets very small, used to hire short actors so they could build smaller sets that used to make up just one side of the actors' faces and stuff like that. So, it wouldn't be just you. It was probably the way I would have had to do it, is all I was thinking. So, do you have a link you can share with people other than one we can put with the show notes when this goes live?
Yeah, we have a link, and we'll have that. We'll be able to share that with you. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Because some of those links are crazy long and some of them are pretty short. So I wasn't sure if it was something that you could tell people now, or would just tell them to look in the notes and they'll see it later.
I would just say look into the notes. I don't have it on hand right now.
Okay, cool. Like I say, a lot of those URLs are kind of lengthy, so they're not the easiest thing to remember. But we will definitely get that. We will definitely get that link for y'all because we need to raise the money so they can make the film. So let's talk about some of the things that you mentioned in the trailer that y'all are going to be using the money for. So if I remember from our conversation as well, y'all would like to start by purchasing some better equipment. Is that correct?
Definitely. I mean, one of the things we were thinking of was kind of upgrading our cameras, because right now we are using sort of like a prosumer camera. We would like to upgrade to a camera that can hold XLR microphones. We want to kind of update our sound equipment, like our microphones, maybe invest a little more into our lighting. We definitely would like to, I would like to get a more upgraded tripod, because I definitely need one. I'm using a Sun Pack right now from early 2000s. This is an early 2000s like photography tripod I'm using for my video camera right now, and I would like to upgrade it to a Sony or a Manfrotto tripod, because I've used them in the field and they're pretty reliable. I like them, and these are the kinds of adjustments where it just doesn't affect the quality of our film. It does upgrade it, but it affects the efficiency with how we're able to shoot, and it kind of makes the overall production quality just that much better. We already have in mind some of the equipment we wish to invest our money in, and I've taken a look at some of the cameras available, and I found something a step above what we have, and these are the kinds of things we would like to invest in terms of equipment, especially with the shotgun mics,
But
because
not
our shotgun mics do pick up good sound, but if we can invest in something a bit sharper and we can clean up our audio a little more, that's what we're looking for too.
right. And we also like the years of Jason and I doing shoots together by ourselves is over. Like we now have experience directing and producing crews where it's time to get a really experienced cinematographer to bring to get this film to where it should be.
Yes.
Right. And then, of course, y'all have some travel planned. I understand there's at least a couple of people you want to interview and feature in the film that you're going to have to travel to take care of that. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think in two different states. They live in two different states, so we would have to travel and get out there to not just interview them, but to also get footage of them as they we want to show our characters in different situations. Some especially, like I said, I wanted to include some of the religious aspect of this. One of my subjects does have that feature with his story, so I want to get him maybe shots of him praying or doing something like that. And the other one lives out in Michigan, so we would have to fly out there and meet with him, and uh, like I said, not just interview them, but at one point he was hosting ping pong tournaments for to help combat OCD, and I'd like to go out there and play ping pong with him. Hopefully get that on footage. To really give a vibrancy to not just our film, but their stories as well.
Because their stories are like we could have. There are millions of people with OCD, unfortunately, in this country, and we could have chosen anybody, but these two men were telling their stories for a reason. One gentleman, it's funny. Jason, like we had our like Jason and I, we argue a lot, and when it comes to production, especially like the name of the film, we argued about the name of the film, and Jason for a long time was like, it's going to be called OCD Diaries, and I said, all right, I'm going to look it up, ocdiaries.com, and it sent me to Bill Brenner's website. I said, OCD Diaries is not going to be the name of the film, Jason. And when I looked throughout the website, it was a blog, and I read the blog. I said, Jason, I think we should invite this man to be a part of our film, because he lost his brother, and he has a journey very similar to Jason's, and he was up for participating, and it was actually a blessing, and that Jason said, put it out there, OCD Diaries. I went to ocddiaries.com. It sent me to our next subject. So
that's really cool. And then in addition to the equipment to record better video and audio to start with, and in addition to the expenses of traveling so you can include these people's lives in your film,
right,
there's also the costs of in addition to the cinematographer, there's also the costs of the post-production, and there's equipment costs there, or there's the cost of the time in other people's facilities and the expertise of people who specialize in editing and post-production. Is that correct?
Yes, and we're going to basically, because we're producers and we've been producers for a long time, we know how to stretch the dollar. But it is possible. This fundraising campaign is specifically for finishing the production. We may have to do another fundraising campaign to do post production. But right now, we're just trying to get this film to the level of post production. Now, I usually edit while we're filming, so I do have a decent rough story structure. So it would be wonderful to edit in a facility and be able to get other editors' eyes on the project.
Yeah. I recently interviewed a fellow who recorded his audiobook, and he put it out there that he was looking for a really good studio to record his audiobook in. And because he had a background in music, he was invited to record his audiobook at the Spielberg Ranch. So, who knows? Maybe there's somebody in the New York area that has a studio that would like to invite you guys there and be able to say that they were part of the project.
No, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be completely incredible.
Yeah. So now y'all have created the crowdfunding campaign. I have done a couple of those myself, but I haven't been real successful at them. Can you tell me a little bit of how a crowdfunding campaign works, and do you have to give people stuff when they give you money? Do they get their names in the reel or anything? How does all that stuff work?
So for $100, we'll put your name in the credits, right?
Okay.
Like for over $500, we'll make a video, right? We'll thank you in this video. If you give $1,000, congratulations, you are now on the production team. You're a producer.
Yep.
If
You got top billing.
congratulations, like you're a producer. And for our high end donors, if someone wants to give $5,000 or more, we will share our titles as as executive producers, because congratulations, you're one of us.
That's cool. That's cool. And I know that we're working on the crowdfunding, but one other thing that I want to mention, because I think this is also a way people can support you and this film, is they can do some paid screenings of your last film straight
Oh,
off the
hell
canvas.
yeah. Brilliant segue, my friend. That's right.
The blind squirrel occasionally still can find an acorn, so go for it.
Straight off the canvas is once again a film about blind artists here in New York City. It's a inspirational film about, the fact that blind people can produce and they can also teach art. It is intrinsically therapeutic. We touch upon art therapy, as well as the importance of museums being accessible for all people with disabilities, not just people who are blind. So basically, we would love to screen with your organization if you're watching. Just give us, my email is straightoffcanvas@gmail.com. We have a pitch deck ready to go to send to you, and I'm looking forward to having this film screened, because it's timeless. Art should be accessible, and art is the soul's expression of the world, and so definitely contact us for a screening of the film.
Right. And an idea that just occurred to me, I'm not saying you will do this or should do this, but it occurs to me that when this film is finished, that it'd be a heck of a deal for people to be able to screen ordinary people straight off the canvas and Hopscotch with My Brain at one location or event as a way of not just being inspired, but also seeing the wide variety of the groups you've presented and the work you guys are capable of doing.
Yeah, and it would really be an opportunity to see the growth that we've had as filmmakers. So,
right. So I'm glad we got the mention of the crowdfunding. That will definitely be in the show notes. Y'all can obviously get a hold of Anthony at straightoffcanvas@gmail.com. And we'll make that easy for you to find too. And if for some reason, if for some reason you're still having trouble, just use the contact form on my website, theblindblogger.net, and I will make sure that we get you in contact with Anthony and Jason. But I don't expect that to happen. Just in case, though, I'd like to ask you a little bit about the trailer itself. Could y'all talk a little bit about the making of the trailer, not just from the point of view of your project, but say you got somebody at home that's wanting to do a trailer for their next book or for an album or for a course they've created. So talk a little bit about y'all's process for your video, and then maybe some advice for people trying to create these things at home.
are you referring to the video that we played?
Yeah, the video we played, the trailer for the crowdfunding campaign.
Okay, so
talk a little bit about y'all's process and what y'all were thinking.
there was two versions of that project. The initial idea was Jason's, in terms of the Hopscotch to the bat, and that
breaking the box.
that whole idea was Jason's in terms of visually getting people, but
It was a great stress reliever after a work week. So I was like, I needed something to hit. So I was like, oh, you're gonna come to the park and film me hitting something.
but the speech itself was important, and we really like I helped him a lot with the speech.
Oh yeah.
But then I shared it to somebody, to a few people, and they said, where are you, Anthony? You should not be behind. You should be in front of the camera because you are so invested in this project that it's not just Jason's story, it's our story. And I was like, okay. So take two. We're in this together, Jason. And that just involved getting a third person, a cameraman, while we're both on the set, because that was an important part of the process.
Yeah. Another thing that occurs to me is, did y'all have any trouble being able to record, Jason wailing on this box in the middle of a park? Was that a difficult thing to get arranged?
You know, it's funny you asked that because it wasn't anything with the park, though we did get a lot of looks from people. They were noticeably concerned. And the first one, somebody actually stopped us and he goes, what are you guys doing? And we told them we're filmmakers. Oh, you're filmmakers? Oh, well, I love watching movies and stuff. Oh, it went into this whole conversation. And it was funny.
So we're trying to work
here. Yeah, we're trying to work here. But he's like, oh man, you guys are shooting this for YouTube. Oh, this is brilliant. And so we did get quite a few looks, but I will say on the second filming, we were working against Mother Nature because it was supposed to rain all day that day, and it was supposed to come down really heavy.
Jason was like, let's stop. It's raining. I'm like, no, it's gonna rain worse. We gotta keep going.
Yeah, I was hoping the rain would just pass over, but I kept praying, God, please hold the rain. And he did. Man, God held the rain, and I was like, all right, I gotta pummel this box as fast as I can. I gotta do my best work out here.
Pummel it out and let's go.
Yep.
Honestly, in terms of trailers, like if I'm directing a project, I'm not directing the trailer. My brain sees the bigger picture. Like if I just directed a 1 hour to an hour and a half feature, someone else is directing that trailer because I can't my brain cannot like think that, and that's okay, Max. It's all right. Like my brain can't go from an hour and a half story to 90 seconds to 30 seconds. I got to give it to somebody else to hear some footage, help me, because I just put this film together. I'm not putting the trailer together.
Now, you see, I wasn't even planning on going there, but you basically did what I talk about with people a lot, which is you say that you would have no problem asking somebody else for help to do something that you're not capable of, because in this case, you would be too invested in the long form of the movie. I think that's an amazing point that I'm going to make sure to emphasize when this goes live, because that's really important.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking when you said that. What is your advice for trailers? Hey, directors, have someone else direct the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It's you don't understand when your brain is seeing these shots over and over and over again. You cannot see it in the context of a trailer, like objectively. So you have to let somebody else just make a decision, and then you like, oh, okay, I like it. But that's just Jason may have a different answer, but that's how I feel.
Well, also to actually add on to what you're saying too, your trailer's got to stand out, from everybody else's trailers that they're going to have out there. And you got to capture an audience's attention within the first 30 seconds. And like Anthony said, after you've been looking at that footage all the time, you don't want to keep looking at it to a point where it's like, oh man, now I got to pick out like only a few shots to like really get an audience's attention in such a short amount of time. Editing a trailer is really an art form in and of itself. And there are people who master that art form, and we have no shame in asking for their help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And in fact, any really well done film project is a collaboration of lots of talented people.
Yes, always.
Now, I want to go back to a question I asked Anthony before we started recording, but he told me not to ask him until we were recording because he didn't want to ruin the effect. So I noticed in the film, in the trailer, you talk about being able to pay your crew.
Yeah.
But you don't mention paying yourself or Anthony. So, I know that, in business, they say one of the most important things creative entrepreneurs have to do is get to the point where they not only pay themselves, but believe they have to and deserve to pay themselves. So, what is it about you guys? Are you guys going to make any money, or is this,
Well, I'd like to make money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
that
mean,
was
I don't think there's
a
anybody
question.
who would say, no, I'm not going to make money out of it. Yeah, of course we'd like to make money out of
We're
it.
not going to go into the details of that. But what I will say is that in 2008, the summer of 2008, I was in a number of television and film projects here in New York City. If you had a project and I was available, I was going to help you. Now, a lot of these, majority of these projects, I was not paid for. Okay, all the projects I was not paid for. What happened next was really unfortunate because I had a panic attack because my body just needed to sleep. My mind was like, I'm going to the film set, and my body was like, you're going to sleep right now, regardless of where you want to go. So I always remember that. It really humbled me. I always remember the experience of, I enjoyed being on a set, by the way. I that's why I was there, to help with the projects. But at the end of the day, I want if I'm the leader, a producer, director of a project, I want my crew to be happy. I want my crew to be fed. I want my crew to be paid so that they're motivated to do a good job for me. Because you need your small set to be a happy environment, and nothing says happy than a paycheck and a meal. So I've had that summer. I mean, this was straight out of college. Jason was like hanging out after college. I don't know what he was doing that summer, but I gained like really important lessons that I've learned that I still use to this day, like the value of protecting your crew. Like a permit protects a crew. If you don't get a permits, someone like if you go to a film shoot with a gun and you don't tell your crew if this is a real gun or not, and a cop shows up on set wondering if this is a real gun or not, and I don't know if this is a real gun or not, I had a panic attack, bro. I really did. But it was an important lesson that I had to just, first of all, not say yes to every project, and to be able to protect your crew, because I think that's important. So that's why I wanted to say that. This is what I wanted to say on camera, because I think that it's important as a director to be able to respect your crew. If I work for you, put me in the credits. Like, so what? I had a panic attack and left your set. I had a panic attack because I worked hard on your set, and you didn't put me in the credits. You know who you are. You didn't put me in the credits. You know what I did? I went to IMDb and I went on your movie, and now I'm in the IMDb credits of your movie. So I was a production assistant on your movie, sir, and now I'm credited in IMDb.
But you did make an important point there that a lot of business people really do struggle with. I struggle with it myself sometimes. Is you have to know when to say no, and that's one of the most difficult skills to learn as an entrepreneur, creative or otherwise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if I got if
No, I loved it. I think the audience will love it too because it was real.
I am I was bitter for a very long time. A very long time I was bitter. And then I just realized IMDb you could just add yourself as
By the
so
way, just for fun, if anybody wants to check IMDb under Max Ivy, they'll find my dad's name because he was in four movies with Earl Ainsby Studios. So if y'all see my name on IMDb, it's not me, it's my dad. Okay,
okay.
just in case somebody in case somebody ran across it. Yeah, he was in some. Yeah, he was in. Yeah, Earl was known as the king of the B movies, so none of these movies were movies you would have ever seen. At least I don't think so. I could be wrong.
What do you think about what I just said?
I could be wrong. Yeah. So I'd like to finish by giving you each of you a chance to talk about something that's part of your lives away from film, and I think I have the right areas here. I was wanting to give Anthony. I was wanting to give you a little chance to talk a little bit about your improv, and if you can maybe tie that back to the film work, that'd be cool, but not necessary. And then, Jason, I'd like to hear a little bit more about progress on your graphic novel since the last time I talked to you.
Wow. All right, Jason, you want to go first?
Sure. In terms of my graphic novel, I'm currently enrolled in a mentorship with a professional comic book writer, and he's helping me to write my script for my graphic novel. I've hit about, I would say, almost 200 pages so far for the script, and I am in the process now of trying to get some character sketches done, and also maybe a rough draft of the first 10 pages of this comic book, because I'm thinking of either releasing it in one lump sum or releasing it as a weekly series, 10 pages a week. So it's a very interesting time for me, because last time we had talked, I think I was talking about how I wanted to get into comic book writing, and now I'm having a really hefty script on my hands, and it's becoming a reality slowly but surely. It is becoming a reality, and a lot of the characters I write, I think really independent filmmaking has helped me develop stronger characters over the years, a lot stronger than when I was going to college. I think it was great to have this real world experience and to get out there and meet more people, and it just helped me to write dialogue, especially with writing my dialogue. It really strengthened my skills and how people, recording how people write, how characters may feel or think or approach a situation. So this has been a wonderful journey, and sooner or later I'm going to start trying to get this thing published, because I'm looking either to publish in an outlet like Heavy Metal Magazine, or one of the other independent comic book producers, Vault Comics, or maybe even one day Dark Horse. But I think this is a great novel I'm working on. It's a great first step into a field I've never been in before, and I gotta say, it's one hell of a journey, man. I can't wait to see what they do with I can't wait to see my characters drawn on a page.
Okay, just a couple of questions. One, I'm a big fan of graphic audio, so have you considered audio dramas of your graphic novel, either as part of your publication or as maybe a way to get it published?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. And then the second thing is have you considered going back to some of the artists in straight off the canvas and seeing if maybe one of them could contribute some of this artwork, because I think that would be a really cool tie back in.
I do too.
Yeah, I think that, like if I could maybe ask like Elizabeth to do like a cover art for my comic book, that would be cool.
Okay, and then you, Anthony?
So I am a part of a improv group in New York City called Metamorph. We had been rehearsing online, just virtual improv for about 2 years. Our amazing leader decided that wanted to take a break from improv, and she resigned from the team. That only left 3 of us left, and we came together as a team, and we decided that we still loved working with each other, and we wanted to continue to improvise. So we had the task of starting a brand new team with the same name and the same goal to do dramatic improv in New York City. That was in January. So basically, we had auditioned about 5 really talented improvisers, really talented actors, and we put together the team, and basically in January, my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It was terminal. My mother, I knew, we've had conversations before, Max, and I knew that she was not, whenever she'd get that news, that she was not going to fight. So I took an extended leave from my improv group to grieve. And I would say that improv helped me to get help my mental health, to laugh, to laugh, because I was not laughing that week. I call so anyway, when I returned to the group, by the way, I'm the leader of the group, I'm the producer. I gotta basically manage the team. Our wonderful director decided that she could not direct us anymore, and it was time, because we were tired of rehearsing virtually, and we were now in person. And now I produce. Not only do I produce films, I produce theater. I book the rehearsal space, and I also managed my team, and we're booking live theater. And at the same time, because our director resigned, I have to now audition directors, because there's no way I could direct and act at the same time. I could direct and act, no, not act, but I could direct myself in a documentary, but there's no way I'm directing actors while performing with actors. That's a conflict of interest. So
that isn't the answer I would have come up with. I would have thought of it just a matter of processing, but that's an interesting way of looking at it, that it would be a conflict of interest in your mind to be directing a group of actors that are specialized in improvisation, and be part of the improvisation at the same time. That's
right. I cannot, look, if we're doing an improv scene, I cannot give you notes about what you did bad, because I'd have to give myself notes, and it makes it really difficult for the actor to be acting with me, and because I'm the one who's going to be giving the notes. So it has to be a person who's not on the stage that can look at the complete picture to be able to to direct. So I'm having a blast with that. As I said before, improv has really helped with my mental health over the last 9 months. Um, so,
Right.
and
Any chance we're going to be, or people in New York are going to be able to see y'all in person anytime soon?
yes, my improv group, Metamorph, we are doing our first in-person show that's our show. That's going to be January 7th at Young Ethel's in Brooklyn. So I'm going to be producing live theater, and it's really a fun journey, because I just love the art form. It has I've met so many great creative people, and it's very free. It's a freeing art form because all you have to do is have a conversation with someone and agree with what they're saying, and just have some fun. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to the future with my improv team.
That's exciting. Just be sure and send me some tickets and a plane ticket when y'all do
Oh,
Broadway, okay?
oh yes.
Y'all make it into the Manhattan district. Y'all give me a call, okay?
All right.
So I have one last question, and then I want to give Jason some time to tell people the important things about obsessive compulsive disorder in general and about people who are living with someone going through it. I started this show singing my new song that I wrote called called "What's Your Excuse?" And several times during this conversation, it's come up. Well, people told you, Anthony, or told you, Jason, get over it, just do it. So for somebody like you, should I be concerned that my theme song is offensive, that it's causing people anxiety?
No, it doesn't cause anxiety. I love listening to it. It's, honestly, I mean, it's not offensive at all. I mean, it's really motivating when you say it. It's different when a doctor tells you, oh, yeah, I'm going to sit you down for therapy. So the therapy is just do it. And you're paying that person. Hearing someone on the radio saying, oh, yeah, you guys can do it. That's motivational. Yeah, that's fine. That's great.
I just wanted to check because a while back I had a gentleman of color reach out to me and he said something to the effect of, I had no way of understanding his real challenges and I really should stop telling people that. I really should stop asking people what's their excuse. So I figured I would ask you because it seemed like an important question. And as I tell people all the time, when I do these recordings, I often ask questions mainly because Max is curious or nervous about the answer. So I appreciate that. That helps me a lot.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, Max is a great listener, So for all you guys watching out there, Max listening to your story and talking to you about it, it really makes a difference. So it's not offensive in the slightest.
All right, I appreciate that. And then just some thoughts on OCD, what it is, what it ain't, and some of the ways we can help people who are living with it because it is a very challenging disease to be living with.
Sure. Well, some of the basic points I picked up was that everybody, in a sense, has a form of obsessive compulsion that they do, or a ritual that they do. But we have to remember that there's a third factor, which is disorder. And it does not become a disorder until it starts interfering with your life. That's the number one thing to remember. And we also have to remember that there's a reason why it's an anxiety-based disorder. A lot of rituals and things like that, when people with OCD are doing them, and it's important for people around them to remember, we know it's ridiculous. We know how it looks. We know what it is. But really, our battle isn't against the anxieties or even the thoughts that provoke our anxieties. When I was going through OCD, this is one of the battles I had. I was trying to fight my intrusive thoughts about death. But the truth is, you can't fight a thought. If I tell you not to think about a pink elephant, you're going to think about it anyway. And the fact is that what I learned in behavioral therapy is that's okay. You have to let that thought happen. Your real enemy is the anxiety that comes after that thought. It's that feeling of anxiety, and anxiety has never killed anyone. And
Right.
so behavioral therapy, the most important thing is to ride that anxiety out. It depends, it varies from person to person. There are some people who it'll take maybe more than a year to wrestle with their anxieties and write it out. But throughout the therapy, you're graphing. You are asked to make a little graph or a chart of your anxieties. And as time progresses, and was in my case, as time progressed, the line on the chart got lower and lower and lower and lower every time I confronted it. And one thing I would also say about OCD, and I think this also extends into other mental illnesses, is there can be relapses. They can happen. I had one myself, and it was a few years ago, and I was surprised because I was like, I thought I was getting better, but do not give up. Do not give up. Relapses do happen. But I think, as any therapist would tell you, the important thing is to continue practicing what they're giving you. And in terms of medication is also a help too. But I think what was such a blessing for my my psychiatrist was he also believed in strong religious groups that help people through their times. I think really what he was trying to emphasize was how important it is to have a support network of people. And we think about people who are, especially living in New York City, you see people who are homeless and suffer from mental illness. And a lot of the times they don't have that support network, and how much having a support network in place can really impact someone positively who is trying to receive treatment from their mental illness. And maybe that support network is just you. And it's tough, but I think the important thing to remember is, one, it has a name. Your mental illness has a name. And two, it really it can be fought. It can be fought against. And three, I'll say this. With OCD, it can be very tricky. And for people who are taking care of someone with OCD, this is a little trick. OCD can be very clever, because some of the things that you do to, maybe avoid your rituals, or some of the things that you do, maybe even some of the parts of your therapy, it can ingrain rituals from that too. So you have to kind of be careful. It's kind of clever in how it acts and how it springs up. But I would say, most of all, that person who is suffering with OCD or another mental illness, never underestimate the importance of your companionship. I had a friend, I'd like to leave off with this. I had a friend who experienced something, an emotional breakdown, and he was taken to a psych ward. And I went in, and this is while I was receiving treatment at Mount Sinai. And I went into the psych ward, and I got to tell you, there was one word to describe the atmosphere, and it was a sense of hopelessness. There was no escape from it, and it was there in the air. I could feel it, and it's tough, But I think the fact that your companionship and your light and your friendship with someone, or your bond with them, is one of those things that will see them through that time.
One thing that Jason asked me, because as you may know, we travel. We used to travel a lot together when we were younger, and we every summer from like 2009 to 2013 we were traveling, and so we were getting pretty close to the summer, and Jason said, I know where we're going this summer. We're going to Atlanta. We're going to an OCD conference. And I said, I'm in. And I think that was the moment where it was like an aha. What have I gotten myself into? That was no, it was an aha moment of okay, like you're gonna spend like an entire weekend learning about OCD, meeting people with OCD. I remember very specifically there was a lecture that we had filmed, and they started the lecture by saying, "Guys, there's a camera here. It's not going to be broadcast, but your voice is going to be on camera." And one by one, like they had a lineup of patients telling their story, and I was shocked. um i I was shocked about the irrational fears that the patients had, and the things that they were doing to calm the fears. It was shocking, um to the point where I said, Jason, I have to leave. Like I am done. He's like, where are you going? I said, I need to leave this room. Um, but it was important for me to have been in that room to understand our audience, to understand what in because I'm just the friend, I'm just the supporter, and it was very enlightening. It was sad, it was overwhelming, and you want to provide them with support, and you just want to be like, okay, sir, like let's I know you're on camera, like I know that your voice is on camera. And you know, the doctors that were at the, you know, counseling them, like, oh, and they only had a certain amount of time, had basically said it's important for you to find support and to get therapy in your hometown, and thank you for coming to share your story with us. um it was overwhelming. I'll just say that, Jason. Like I did not expect. I did not. Do you remember some of the stories that was in that room, or
There were I remember some. I mean, I don't remember them verbatim. You
I
know.
remember them
Um,
very much verbatim. I'm not going to repeat it here. I'm sorry, it's not coming out of my mouth, but it was shocking, Max.
Well, I imagine it is. It's always shocking when we go into areas that we're not familiar with, and even more
Yeah.
so when it has something to do with mental health like this. So, I want to thank you guys for your friendship, for the opportunity to work with you in the past, and also to help draw attention to the current film project and to the crowdfunding campaign. And I really appreciate y'all coming back on What's Your Excuse, and I look forward to doing this in person, as we talked about earlier, when the film is being shown. Because I have a friend in Brazil who's like, Max, someday one of us is going to walk the red carpet. When that happens, I want to be your plus one. So even
Yeah,
if I have to pay for the red carpet, man, we're going to have some damn red carpet at y'all's premiere of this movie.
you're damn right we are. No
oh
pandemic.
hell yeah!
All right, I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. What I wanted. Okay, so we had another great conversation with my friends Anthony and Jason. Uh, been happy to have gotten to see their progress as filmmakers and to be part of the effort to get the word out about the work they're doing. First, with straight off the canvas about the visually impaired, how we can create, teach, and appreciate art. And this latest one that they're working on that hopefully will be out soon, the playing hopscotch with my brain about the obsessive compulsive disorder and uh, Jason's experiences with it, and then also the way it's affected Anthony and the other people around him. And I have no doubt that they're going to share a lot of great information with people, but do it in a method of storytelling that's going to keep people interested, entertained, and sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to see where the story goes next, because they aren't really good storytellers. And this whole story of living with and overcoming OCD and just dealing with the general difficulties of life, overcoming anxiety in general. So I appreciate that we've been friends that come on the podcast twice now. And a couple of things that they did talk about was learning how to say no, protecting your crew, which in most of our cases means protecting our team or our family, and making sure things are done right so they aren't put in harm's way or their livelihoods or their personal safety isn't put at risk. Talking about the power of friendship and companionship and how while you may not be able to see it, you're regularly taking the time to talk to somebody who is living with anxiety, mental health, or OCD in particular can be the one thing that keeps them going, that allows them to continue to struggle and to work on themselves and to follow whatever advice they're getting from their doctors, their priests, the preachers, their therapists, the religious leaders. It's very important that our community, our circle of friends is one of the things y'all have heard me talk about over the years a lot, the whole idea of, we have to be willing to let people be part of our journey, and not just during the really cool times, but especially during the difficult, challenging times. So I really appreciate them mentioning that as well. I think those are all very important points. And also that we can all do a better job of communicating our struggles with people around us, with our closest friends, our family, with the people that we work with or that are our supervisors, just the people that we know that our lives impact on. We can all do a better job of communicating with these people, including myself. So a lot of great lessons there. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, you can find them at twitter.com/hopscotchwbrain. I will have the link to their crowdfunding campaign. I'll also give you the link to their Facebook page, and we'll get some information on how you can screen their other films straight off the canvas, because just like contributing to this crowdfunding campaign will help them buy the equipment and travel and hire the people they need to hire to make a great movie, celebrating and appreciating their previous movie by having a screening for your organization or your group or your school, or possibly even using it as a teaching tool in institutions where they train teachers and instructors of people with disabilities, or at facilities that try to encourage and inspire us people with disabilities. So I hope y'all will check that out as well, and I will make sure you have the link. Before I finish, I want to remind you again to check out my sponsors, blueberry.com for podcast hosting, and createmyvoice.com for your voice branding strategy so people can find your blog, website, or podcast on Alexa, Google, and Siri. Definitely check both of those people out. And these next few companies, they are not sponsors, but they're people who make products or services that I appreciate and have benefited from. And I hope you will check out some of them. The links in the show will be affiliate links. So if you visit their website or buy something from them, then I could receive a reward either financially or in in the form of social media shares or possibly even some cool gear. And I don't want to get in trouble like the Kardashians did for not disclosing that these are affiliate links. So first up is Danos Seasonings. Thanks to them and the fact that they make these great seasonings that are low sodium, no salt, gluten-free, all organic. They've allowed me to give my brother Patrick the gift of good taste, and he's an arrhythmia survivor, so he really was challenged with finding good tasting food. Less annoying CRM, which is client retention management, an app I use to help me keep track of the podcast, the work I do booking people on podcasts, outreach to people for business opportunities for myself, my friends, and my clients. And it really does make it a lot easier for me to keep track of those things. It's accessible, it's simple, it's really cheap at $15 per user per month. So check them out. Less annoying CRM. There's crystalcreekorganic.com. They have provided me with CBD products over the last couple of years. And while the CBD allowed me to continue to get work done between knee pain and back pain, and now combining that with regular physical therapy, I'm making a lot of important progress. And I'm sure it's going to pay dividends with more energy and more passion for my work going forward. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I want to mention. I know there's at least one. One of the ways that I support myself is through booking people on podcasts. And one of the places I find hosts looking for guests is a website called podmatch.com, and it's free to join. It's set up with artificial intelligence to match people based on their profiles, just like a dating site. Either hosts looking for guests or people that want to be guests looking for hosts. And it's free. They also offer some premium options that give you more features, but you can make a lot of progress on that website if you're looking to grow your reputation and get more exposure by doing podcast interviews. And the owners over there, Alex and Alicia Sanfilippo, they are great friends of mine. They've been mentors of mine and been very supportive of me and my podcast and all the other things I've been up to. So hope you will check out podmatch.com. You can always find me at theblindblogger.net. That's theblindblogger.net. You can find my podcast and all the other shows hosted by people with disabilities on the What's Your Excuse Network at wyexcuse.com/shows. And of course, you can always tell Alexa or Google to play What's Your Excuse. Until next time, I hope that you're doing well and taking care of yourselves and your families. And please let me know if there's anything I can do to help y'all out. Take care now. Goodbye. If I can do it, what's your excuse? What's holding you back or what's stopping you? Go on and do it, or what's there to lose? If I can do it, what's your excuse?